Hello again. So basically, I finished two books recently, and I wanted to a collective review on both of them. Actually, I'll tell you why later, but there's a reason why I'm putting these two together. But to start with, because I finished this one first for my course, which is Things Fall Apart by HIB, and I I'm gonna just break down this book for you first, and then I'll go on telling you why I actually did like it. So first of all, first it's in three parts. The first part kind of like introduced you into the traditions of kind of the protagonist, Okonkwo's his village traditions, how they work as a system, their values, their beliefs. They have their own shrines, and they have their system, kind of a system of law. You would probably roughly kind of say, but a more like primitive one, probably you would say. And then there's also interesting characters and plots with that. There's they mention about the polygamy, they mention about patriarchy, and but amongst that you can also see a lot of female characters that are strongly portrayed in this book. So I quite like that fact um, of this book. That's the first part of it, and then the second part is basically when he is exiled from his tribe, um, and he goes back to his mom's tribe. And the complication with this is that the missionaries, um, they kind of came and kind of just well not disrupt, but kind of like just disrupted the order that was in that tribe, and there were a lot of like identity crisis for him, especially well not for him but for his son, and he did kind of question a lot of his values, but a lot of it was masked behind how he how he is in front of people, because he doesn't really show his feelings, not even like in part one, back when he was in his own tribe. But anyway, yeah. So he kind of experienced that, and the last part is basically I don't want to spoil it for you, but I feel like a lot of people probably have read this before. I don't know. Maybe I'll just leave it as you can probably guess from Things Fall Apart. Anyway, that's basically part three. Why I like this, kind of mentioned already a little bit, with some of the really strong female characters, such as Edzima. I hope I got that pronunciation right. Um, she's a very strong character, and it's very ironic that the father always says, "Oh, I wish she was my son," um, instead of her being, because she always, like, according to the book, has this very strong chi. So she has this very strong like spirit, that, and also the sense of understanding her father that the other like sons never had, and I found that to be very interesting. And the way she maneuvered herself within the family and like the whole tribe was very interesting as well. So I quite liked that, and the plot was quite nice. I think it portrayed what Achebi wanted to portray. Um, I had to write an essay on whether he should have written it in his own African language, but that's kind of another story. Anyway, but I did like the book more than I actually thought I would, and yeah, I would recommend reading it. And the interesting part is that when I was finishing up looking for Alaska, this book was actually mentioned as a course reading for one of the characters, well, not one, I guess the whole class of that whole class, that they had to read Things Fall Apart. So I thought that was kind of interesting, because I just finished reading that book, and then I was finishing this book, but I guess I don't have to like introduce too much about John Green. John Green obviously is the guy who wrote Fault in Our Stars. So this book is broken down to two parts. The first part is called Before, the second part is called After. Not going to tell you guys what it means, but I am going to tell you that it really does build up the hype that you really want to get to the after, and it really successfully doesn't like give it out, because you would feel when portraying the character Pudge, as he is referred mostly in the book, you would feel that, okay, maybe they're gonna like Pudge is gonna be with Alaska, like they're gonna fall in love or whatever, or something that's really, really enticing. But I mean, I'm not saying that the after is not enticing, but you just wouldn't have predicted that. And the other thing that I like about this book, as I probably said before, I don't know, is that yeah, it has a lot of people's last words. So there are a lot of famous people's last words. Oscar Wilde is very funny. Who else was very funny? There were a lot of interesting ones that were very to the spot of the moment of when they were dying. But and I also like the tagline of, he went to this school because he wanted to seek the great perhaps. That was one of the last lines of, I believe it was Francois, like something. I can't remember the name. It was like French or something. But I just really liked that idea, and I feel kind of like ambivalent about the character Alaska, just because I can't relate to her a whole lot. She's kind of like the juvenile, kind of like she smokes so much, and she drinks a whole lot, and she's just like on the verge of like breaking down all the time. But she's a very interesting kind of a character. She's a feminist as well, but a very different kind, I guess. I guess it also has to do with her upbringing, which is also mentioned in the book, but I won't give that up too much. What I will say is that I haven't read a whole lot of African literature. I guess the only other one is Cry the Beloved Country, but I would have to say I did enjoy this one a lot more. I don't know why, I can't put my fingers onto it, but I did like this one a lot more. Even though I got to see the movie of Cry the Beloved Country, I still think the stories and things Fall Apart were more vivid. So I guess what I'm reading now is this book called Clear Light of Day. As you can see, it's a book about an Indian woman and her family. I just started, so I don't have a whole lot to say, except the descriptions are very, very detailed, very vivid and nice, almost Jane Austen-ish. She was the Booker Prize finalist, apparently. And yeah, so I'm reading that for fiction, and I'm also reading this Peace, Love, Liberty as nonfiction. Quite interesting. It's, well, obviously about the Liberalist Party, and also how they view peace and love, and how, some people, argue war for peace, but they're trying to argue the vice versa, like, there is no such thing as war for peace. There's just peace. Given that that's very, it's almost common sense, but, a lot of people argue against it. So it's a very interesting read. And yeah, and now I'm closing up to 9 minutes and 40 seconds, so I should say au revoir. I said it the right way this time, so yeah, au revoir, bye.